Hi, I'm Thomas Leonard, and this is part 2 of the Xero install tutorial. In part 1, we looked at creating launchers. For example, this Roxfiler menu entry runs Roxfiler through Xero install. And what we saw was that using one of these launchers is equivalent to just using the Xero launch command and typing in the full name of the program, like this. So in this tutorial, we're going to look in detail at what the Xero launch command itself actually does. First of all, it collects information about the available versions of the program, then it chooses one of those versions, and then it runs it. So for this tutorial, we'll use Edit as our example application. Edit has never been installed on this computer, so how does Xero Launch know how to run it? What it does is what you or I might do. It takes the program's name, that's this long string here, and interprets it as if it was a web address. So let's try opening that in Firefox. We can see that a Xero install feed actually looks just like an ordinary web page. We've got a description of how to run it, and a link to its home page, a table showing all the available versions of it, and a list of other libraries that it requires. And we could choose a version like 2.0, and we could download the archive ourselves, unpack it, and run it. Of course, it's a lot easier if we use Xero install. It'll get the library for us, it'll check to see whether the library is already installed on the computer, and if so, use that. It'll do various security checks for us, and it'll check for updates. So how is Xero Launch able to understand this web page written in English? Well, the answer will become clear if you look at the page's source. Web pages are normally written in a markup language called HTML. In this language you tag things to say this is a heading, this is a subheading, this is a table, this is a bulleted list, and so on. But this page isn't written in HTML. It's written in a custom language specifically for describing computer software. This has elements such as category, home page, and requires to express the fact that it needs Roxlib. And we've also got a set of implementations or versions, each of which has an archive we can download to get it. And finally, at the end, we've got this digital signature so that we can check that this page is genuine. Finally, this style sheet line at the top tells your web browser how to render this as a web page, which is how we get this. But Xero Launch doesn't look at the rendered version, it looks at the original. So let's actually run Edit. Xero Launch has just done exactly what we just did. It went to Edit's web page and downloaded that XML document describing it. It saw that it depended on Roxlib, so it downloaded that as well, and it chose versions of both. And if I click Run, it will actually download the selected versions and run Edit. There we go. So, where did Xero install put all the things that it downloaded? Let's take a look. Inside your home directory, there's a hidden directory called .cache, which contains a subdirectory called xeroinstall.net. Everything that Xero install downloads goes in here. Inside the interfaces directory, you'll find 3 XML files. One for Edit, one for Roxfiler, and one for Roxlib. Let's open that Edit one in gedit. As you can see, it's just a copy of the XML document that we saw in Firefox, right down to the signature at the end. We can see the effect of this very easily by deleting one of them. So if I delete Roxfiler, and then I go Applications, Accessories, Roxfiler, we can see that it's come back. Xero install was unable to run Roxfiler without the information in that file. When it saw it was missing, it downloaded a fresh copy. In a similar way, the individual versions of Roxfiler and Edit go in the implementations directory. If you set up sharing, this will be in /var/cache rather than in your home directory. Again, we've got 3 directories, corresponding to Edit, Roxfiler, and Roxlib. There's Edit, there's Roxlib, and there's Roxfiler. Each directory just contains the contents of the archive for that version of the program. Again, we can see the effect very simply just by deleting one of these. So let's get rid of Roxlib. I just need to make it writable first, because ZeroInstall sets everything in the cache to be read-only. Now I can delete it. Okay, that's gone. And if we run Edit again, you can see that while Edit itself is cached, Roxlib needs to be downloaded. And if I download it now, you should see there, it's appeared once again inside the implementations directory, and Edit runs. Why do we use these strange numbers to represent individual versions of programs rather than short names like Edit 2.0? The answer is just that this makes it easier to share packages between users. You can see these SHA numbers quite easily. If you do view page source again, we can see down here, for example, that Edit version 2.0 can be identified by the fact that it has a SHA-1 hash of 329E6, and so on. And there it is, SHA-1 equals 329E6. So that's the end of this tutorial. I hope that's shed some light on where ZeroInstall gets things from and where it puts them.